From the original dome in Houston, Texas, it's National League Baseball on TSN with the Astros hosting the Montreal Expos. Brought to you by Petro-Canada, dealers and agents. Our energy is Canada. The heat is on deep in the heart of Texas. Houston has been getting astronomical performances from its starting pitchers, like Mike Scott, who's just 4-0 and has an earned run average of 1.94. And then following Scott coming out of the dugout to the mound is 41-year-old Nolan Ryan, who keeps getting better with age. On Wednesday night against the Philadelphia Phillies, Ryan came within 2 outs of his 6th career no-hitter. The rest of the staff's not bad either. Houston has led the major leagues in strikeouts the past 2 years, and they're on top again. But the Expos staff has been stingy as well, led by Pascual Perez and Dennis Martinez. Wednesday night at home against Cincinnati, Perez threw a 2-hit shutout at the Cincinnati Reds, and now it's on to Houston, where it figures that this series will be won on the hill. Hello, everyone. I'm Jim Hughson at the Astrodome in Houston. Tonight's starters will be Dennis Martinez for the Expos and Danny Darwin for the Houston Astros. Ken Singleton, the way these pitching staffs have been going lately, you got to figure that the hits will be few and far between this weekend.
For any team to make a run at the divisional title, Jim, they're going to have to start with some good pitching. The Astros have been fantastic in the early going. 19 games so far this year, 6 innings or more from the starting pitcher in each ball game.
All right, don't go away because you won't want to miss the hit. This is Labatt Expos Baseball on TSN.
Astrodome in Houston, Texas, and with me is the manager of the Montreal Expos, Buck Rogers. And Buck, early going here in the season, and you made a few roster moves. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about why they were made.
Well, the first thing we did was we brought Neil Heaton back on the active list from 3 weeks on the disabled list, and we sent John Dobson down to Indianapolis where he had to pitch. The second thing we did was bring Joe Hesketh up, who was we felt didn't get enough work in spring training. We felt now he's ready at Indianapolis, and we moved Randy Sinclair off and back to Indianapolis. And then the third and the toughest thing to do was to send Casey Candell to the minor leagues. Casey did an outstanding job for us last year as a part-time player and utility player, and just never got it together so far this year, and hopefully he will later on. But we brought Johnny Paredes up, who we feel is a very fine second baseman and can give us a little bit of action up here around second base.
Well, good luck, Buck, with the moves. Thank you very much. You're watching Labatt Expos Baseball on TSN.
From indoors at the Astrodome in Houston, where it's a good thing it's indoors because it's a rainy night outside, Ed Montague will be behind home plate. John McSherry at first, Fred Brocklander at second, and Lee Wire at third base. That's the crew that will officiate. The umpires for this game: Danny Darwin will be the starter tonight, the right-hander for the Houston Astros. His ERA is great at 2.82, but that's the highest on the Astros staff. And the lineup that he will face from the Montreal Expos is one that you recognize, although it will have a bit of a change in it. The Expos as a team are hitting .254. That's second to Chicago, but lately the bats have been silent. Just 11 runs scored in the last 6 games. They need more production from Tim Wallach, who's got just 5 RBIs. But the biggest problem spot is the 7th, 8th, and 9th spots in the order. You've heard of Buck Rogers' changes to try and get things going. Foley at 172 has to get going. Johnny Paredes makes his major league debut against Danny Darwin tonight.
Danny Darwin, 1-1 at 2.82 ERA. Very tough on right-handed hitters. You'll see his side-wielding motion. It's going to be up to left-handers like Tim Raines, Mitch Webster, Jeff Reed, and Tom Foley do the bulk of the hitting tonight and try and break through against this hard-throwing Astro right-hander.
He's 32 years old. He's from Bonham, Texas, and the first man he'll face is Tim Raines. There are a lot of guys. 267's an enviable average. For Tim Raines, it's a slump.
At this point in the season, about one hot streak away, Tim Raines is, from breaking into that 300 column. You got to remember, it's not even May 1st yet, so he's not really used to playing this early in the season. Foul ball, this will go out and play. It's left fielder Billy Hatcher on the run trying to make the play, but it's back into the seat.
Tim Raines in his last 10 games is hitting at just a .250 clip with 5 runs scored. His on-base percentage is pretty low. It's only at .349 right now, and that's an important statistic for Raines. Been doing a lot of first pitch swinging this season. But you're right, May 2nd is when he really starts to play. So we're expecting a grand slam in extra innings next week in Cincinnati. Foul ball.
Another foul ball back out of play. Raines, to be truly effective in that leadoff spot, has to get that on-base percentage up around 40%. Last year he was well above that, one of the tops in the league. As you take a look at Danny Darwin, former Milwaukee Brewer for a couple of years, started out with the Texas Ranger organization. So he's been in the American League for a number of seasons, had a 67 and 76 record over in the American League, 14 and 12 with the Houston Astros. Ball is inside.
The count is full to Tim Raines, the first Expo batter, 3-2. Danny Darwin, if he's on, will induce an awful lot of fly balls. That's why he's so well suited to this vast Astrodome that surrenders the fewest home runs in the National League. Only 97 last season. They only park under 100. On-base percentage will take a hike here as Raines gets aboard with a walk.
Take a look at the defense behind Danny Darwin tonight. That's Alan Ashby catching. Davis at first. Jim Pankovitz in for the injured Bill Doran at second. Rafael Ramirez, former Brave, at short. Craig Reynolds at third base. Billy Hatcher, the speedy Gerald Young in center, and Kevin Bass around in right field.
Bill Doran must really be hurt with the sore shoulder to be out of the game. He had a streak of 186 consecutive ball games until tonight. He still could get into the game as a pinch hitter, but he's not a starter.
Well, I talked to him before the game, Jim, and he could hardly raise his arm above his shoulder. So he's definitely in some type of pain tonight.
Raines on first has stolen 11 bases, tied for the league lead. One of the men he's tied with is Gerald Young, the center fielder for the Astros, as he gets back on a throw from Darwin. Mitch Webster, the batter. There's Raines taking his lead and scrambling back. Well, that wasn't exactly a scramble, but he's back.
Mitch Webster hitting an even 300. He faces Darwin. 389 left-handed.
Raines was on his way as the pitch was fouled off by Mitch Webster.
The Expos not scoring many runs lately. You might see not only Tim Raines moving on the base paths, you might see some of the others taking off. Manager Buck Rogers trying to make things happen. A few hit and runs, straight steals. It's one way to open up the defense when your team isn't really hitting the ball well, and maybe you'll get some of those 1,000 hoppers and go through the infield and keep a rally going.
Count is 0-1 to Mitch Webster. Just 28 at-bats in his last 10 games. He sat out a couple of games, and he, like everybody on the Expos right now, seems to be having a few problems. And shouldn't say everybody. Andres Galarraga continues to hit well, but 179 is the average for Webster in his last 10 games. Raines takes his lead. Another foul ball hit by Webster. 0-2.
Third base coach Jackie Moore with the signs. I'm sure Tim Raines is more or less on his own. The only sign that Raines might get is the don't go. Get the red light from Jackie Moore. And with the count 0-2, there's always a possibility of a pitch out. I'm sure an experienced base stealer like Tim Raines knows that.
Another throw over from Darwin, who's being extra careful with Raines aboard.
Yeah, Jim, speaking of the way the Astros have been pitching, good pitching is contagious. If one starter goes out, pitches a fine game, the next one out there wants to pitch well too. The same thing with hitting. The Expos seem not to be swinging the bats well. Another foul ball. Raines is on the move.
If nothing else, he's getting a workout. Raines makes his way back. The Astrodome is most conducive to stealing bases in the last 4 years as the record has been kept. The Astrodome has led the league in steals. The Big O, Montreal Stadium, is second. But of all the 26 teams in the league in Major League Baseball, the best places to steal are places with AstroTurf.
A little more springing running down the baselines and the dirt infields. Darwin steps off.
Of his 50 steals last year, 41 of Tim Raines' thefts were on AstroTurf.
That's right. He has problems against teams like San Francisco. Didn't steal many bases. I guess the combination of Bob Brenly and Bob Melvin.
And natural grass.
Natural grass and the fact that the Giant pitchers hold the runners on a little bit better.
Webster strikes out. Number 1 for Danny Darwin. 1 away.
You're going to get a good look at this one just like Mitch Webster did. Didn't offer at it. Tell you what, it might have been a little outside, but it looked like it caught the corner as it was tailing away. So Danny Darwin picks up his first strikeout of the evening on a Houston staff that can strike people out, to say the least.
Can they ever? Scott, Ryan, DeShays, Nepper, Darwin. They do it in different ways. There's some heat from Ryan. Scott throws it pretty hard too, but he's got the split finger. Nepper will throw it up there at 60 miles an hour, but you're not sure which direction it's going to go. Darwin throws pretty hard. Hubie Brooks, the batter, with 1 away, and Tim Raines on first.
Well, this combination of Danny Darwin on the mound and Hubie Brooks last year, that's where Hubie got his hand broken on April the 10th. Darwin threw a sailing fastball, came in on Hubie's hands, and that was it for about 6 weeks.
Boy, things look pretty dismal there. There's a pitch out. Raines wasn't going. 2-0. Things look pretty dismal with Raines not in the lineup. He was a free agent, you'll remember, didn't come back till the 2nd of May, and then Brooks gets hurt. Martinez and Perez weren't around.
The Expos were off to an 0-5 start.
Looked like it was going to be a long season, didn't it?
Well, it turned out to be a long season, but they won 91 games.
Brooks fouls 1 away. The count is 2-1.
Foot 5-inch Danny Darwin makes his home in Arlington, Texas, which is where the Texas Rangers make their home. Danny pitched a number of seasons for the Rangers. Raines with a pretty good lead. 1 foot on the carpet. There he goes. Look out, Hubie.
High inside pitch. Ashby can't get it out of his glove, and there's stolen base number 12 for Tim Raines.
We're going to take a look at Raines on the move. Straight steal, doesn't even look back. He's in there safely as Ashby does not throw. And I wonder if that pitch brought back memories for Hubie Brooks. That was up and in. As Yogi Berra would say, that's deja vu all over again.
3-1 pitch. Hit hard to center field. Gerald Young is back, makes the catch. Raines tags up and is on his way to third. The throw is cut off, and Raines is safely into third base. Good aggressive base running, and Raines is 90 feet away with 2 outs.
Not many players would have attempted the run on the arm of Gerald Young, who is a fine defensive outfielder. When he came up last year, they were just worried about how he would hit, and he's done a very good job for Houston with the bat as well as in the field. Coast underneath that one and makes a good strong throw to third, but a runner with the speed of Tim Raines can take chances and make it safely. Many other guys would have just gone halfway and been content to go back to second base.
That wasn't very deep either. That was, you're right, a play that very few guys would go on. Here's Tim Wallach. Needs to bump up his average, hitting just .250. Right up the middle, he hits Darwin. Darwin scrambles after it, makes the play to first, just in time to get the out. So thanks to some good base running by Tim Raines, the Expos get a man to third, but strand them as Danny Darwin recovers and makes a fine play to get Tim Wallach. The Astros are coming to the plate in the bottom of the first inning. This is Labatt Expos Baseball on TSN.
Come to the bottom half of the first inning, and Jim, before the game, as you can see out there, there is a new surface here at the Astrodome. In fact, they have a separate surface for baseball and football, and they'll just remove the baseball surface once the season is over, and then the Houston Astros of the National Football League come in, and then you see a new surface. But I had a chance to talk to Bill Doran, one of the finest fielding second basemen in the National League. And Doran gave us this talk about the new turf at the Dome.
It's a lot brighter. First of all, it's new. It has a lot better foundation to it than the other stuff did. I know I had problems with my hamstrings and lower back after a long homestand, and there were some players that came into town that had similar problems just playing on it 4 or 5 days. So the foundation's better, and it's better on your legs, your back. It's brighter. I think you see the ball a little better. I think it's just a better turf for the fans. It's a better turf for us.
Brand new and bright. New cement floor underneath in the Astrodome. The big project. They pumped a lot of money in here to fix this place up. And pitching on the mound tonight for the Montreal Expos is 32-year-old Dennis Martinez. His age matches his number, and the Astro lineup is a patchwork one for Hal Lanier tonight. Billy Doran, as you know, is out with a sore shoulder, so he's not in his customary third spot or at second base. Jim Pankovich plays at second, his first start. Veteran Craig Reynolds plays third, where Chuck Jackson has had most of the starts. The big bat, of course, belongs to Glenn Davis, who leads the league with 18 RBIs.
Dennis Martinez, 3-2, fine 2.36 earned run average, and he brings one of the best curveballs in baseball to the mound. Each and every night he seems to have that curveball working, and that's what makes him very tough. 18 strikeouts. He's going to have to throw. Well, this is the type of ballpark where all pitchers usually do well. Ball doesn't carry well here in the Astrodome, well known for not much home run hitting. And the first batter Dennis will face is Gerald Young.
23-year-old, born in Honduras, hits one right back to Martinez. A good start for the man they call El Presidente. And is one away.
Defense behind Martinez tonight. Andres Galarraga, rookie Johnny Paredes, first major league game at second base. Tom Foley in at short tonight. Tim Wallach at third. Raines, Mitch Webster, Hubie Brooks in the outfield. Jeff Reed behind the plate. Dennis Martinez on the mound.
One away for Billy Hatcher, the left fielder. Batting .267 to start this season.
Interesting note on Hatcher. The promotions director here in Houston is Karen Williams. Her biggest promotion of last year was marrying Billy Hatcher at the end of the season.
Ouch.
But they won't be going dancing after the game tonight.
Unless we can sell him some of those Kevlar shoes.
Oh, no. Now Hatcher, there's a sinking fastball by Dennis. The best that Hatcher could do is pull it and hit it right off his ankle. And he's already wearing a guard on his ankle, so he's hit that ankle once before this season.
And he's just now getting back to his feet, shaking this off, waiting for most of the pain to subside before he goes back to the plate.
You're talking about a man who stole over 50 bases last year, so he makes a pretty good living with those wheels.
And gained great fame late last season for one incident when a bat shattered and foreign substances were found inside. Curiously, you know, Hatcher, before the 8-game suspension for doctoring a bat, was cruising along at a .311 pace, but in the 21 games after that, he hit barely over 200.
I didn't know the bat was loaded, was his claim. He said it belonged to Dave Smith. At least Smith said it was his bat that he used in batting practice before the games, in the pitcher's hitting drills.
I wonder if he got suspended from the drills for trying to win for his team in those little games they had. 1-2 count to Hatcher. One away, bottom of the first inning for the Astrodome in Houston, where it's a good thing we're indoors. It was a mighty miserable day outside. Ground ball for Wallach at third. 2 away.
Hatcher stung that ball down to Wallach, but Tim, one of the best third basemen in the league, sucked it up, made a good strong throw. And his bat is starting to come alive a little bit. I think the last time we saw him on a TSN game, Tim Wallach's average was below 200.
2 away then for Kevin Bass, one of the most talked about fielders in baseball right now. And I'm sure the talk bothers him a little bit because it's all been centered around trades. Martinez to Bass. Off the end of the bat, and it's a base hit. Or is that a Bass hit?
Say, the way it rained here in Houston today, Bass was probably the only one who had no trouble getting to the ballpark.
A 2-out single, the first hit of the game for Kevin Bass.
Thunderstorms, heavy thunderstorms all day long. We talked about the trades of Bass as we look at Glenn Davis coming to the plate. The Astros' main power threat already has 6 home runs.
His 18 RBIs tie him for the league lead with Bobby Bonilla of those surprising Pittsburgh Pirates.
What was it? Kevin Bass supposedly going to the New York Yankees for Dave Winfield earlier in the season.
And apparently Winfield nixed that. He's a 10-year man with 5 years in the same team. There's a steal attempt, and Bass is safely at second base. Stolen base number 3 for Kevin.
Well, once again, the opposing team's not wasting any time on the Expos. First pitch, Bass takes off, and he's in easily at second base with a stolen base. Get in scoring position with 2 down for Glenn Davis. Well, what's even more unusual about this trade talk? General Manager Lou Piniella of the Yankees has been in town for the past 4 or 5 days.
Well, the latest deal centers around Toronto as well, and has Bass going to the rumor anyway, has Bass going to New York, Winfield going to Toronto, and Jesse Barfield, who's a native of Houston, coming home to play for the Astros.
You know, and Winfield can shoot all of this down because he's a 10-5 player, and when we spoke to him during that exhibition game, he gave no indication that he wanted to leave the Yankees. So some general managers must be exercising their frequent flyer programs, moving around the country, trying to work out a deal.
Long ball hit by Glenn Davis way back, and it's out of the park. A home run for Glenn Davis, 2-0 Astros.
Home run number 7 for Glenn Davis on the season. RBIs number 19 and 20. And if Dennis Martinez has had one problem this year, he's been giving up home runs at an alarming rate. That's the 6th home run that he's allowed in just over 35 innings.
Got the first 2 quickly, Young and Hatcher. Then Bass singled, stole second, and that was immaterial because Glenn Davis hit one out in the stingiest ballpark in the league.
11 of the 15 runs that Martinez has allowed this season have been because of home runs.
The switch-hitting catcher, Alan Ashby, is the batter. This is his strong side. Hits .342 left-handed against right-handed pitching. The overall average is .283. And the count is 2-0 as Martinez falls behind.
Now, the reason why Dennis might be giving up so many home runs is because he's been around the plate so much. He hasn't walked a hitter in quite a few innings. So he's getting the ball over the plate. He just has to get it in better locations at certain times.
Ashby taking in a 3-0 pitch for a strike, 3-1. Dennis' last outing was in Philadelphia on Sunday. 7 1/3 innings, gave up 5 hits, got the win, gave up just one run. That was unearned. Previous to that, he pitched the first complete game by an Expo pitcher this season in the series in Chicago, during which the Expos won 2 of 3. Three balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, and 2 runs in on the 2-run homer by Glenn Davis, his 7th of the season. Full count pitch. And he walks it.
The first base on balls that Martinez has allowed in over 17 innings. So he's been throwing strikes. Maybe that home run shook him up a little bit. He'll be facing Craig Reynolds, making his first start of the season. Reynolds playing third base tonight, usually a shortstop. Denny Walling out with back spasms. So Reynolds takes over at third. Fouls this ball out of play, strike one. And with Doran out of the lineup and Pankovic's in there, the bench for manager Hal Lanier might be kind of thin tonight.
The bench is Terry Poole. There's Hal Lanier, manager of the year in 1986.
I wonder if that's a Texas Ranger we just saw.
0-1 pitch is pulled by the second baseman Paredes, and Reynolds is aboard with a hit. So with 2 outs, the Astros are doing some damage. A 2-run homer by Davis. Ashby walks and Reynolds singles.
Craig Reynolds pulls the ball through the hole. Watch Johnny Paredes here. Might have to learn the hitters a little bit better. Up to his first few weeks in the league, he's going to have to rely on the coaches to move him around the infield. Then you kind of get a feeling for not only the hitters on the opposing team, but how your own pitchers throw and where you have to position yourself in the field.
So Martinez will now face Rafael Ramirez. The Astros, when looking for a regular shortstop, gave up a couple of prospects to Atlanta to get Ramirez in the offseason. Batting .224, is not a big hitter. 2 aboard, and he hits one up the middle. Rushing it is Webster. Around third and holding up is Ashby as Webster unloaded very quickly, getting the ball in. So they prevent the run, but the bases are loaded. Fourth hit of the inning of Dennis Martinez.
Ramirez shatters his bat. Martinez makes a good pitch, getting in on the hand. Mitch Webster charging very well. Ashby, not with the greatest of speed, is held up at third base by third base coach Dennis Menke. And the bases are loaded for Jim Pankovic, who will be facing Martinez.
Pankovic doesn't have a hit this year. This is his first start. He has 4 plate appearances, all in the role of pinch hitter. But this is the situation pinch hitters like to come up in, don't they? Bases loaded. 2 out. Pankovic had a mind to, but takes ball 1, 1-0.
Utility infielder that made the club on the strength of his spring training. 15 RBIs led the Astros this spring. So when he got his chances, he let everybody know that he was around.
1-0 pitch, hard cut by Pankovic. 1-1. Ashby's at third. He walked. Reynolds followed him with a single. He's at second. Buck Rogers watches. Ramirez is at first. Bases loaded. 2 runs in, 2 out. Looked like it was going to be a smooth inning for Dennis Martinez as he got Young and Hatcher very quickly. Change up for a strike from Martinez, 1-2. Nothing's bad. The Expos and Martinez don't want it to get any worse. 1-2 pitch. Ground ball shoveled by Foley to Paredes at second base for the force there, and Martinez is out of the inning. But the Astros get 2 runs on the home run by Glenn Davis, 4 hits, and leave the bases loaded It's 2-0 Houston after 1. This is Labatt Expos Baseball on TSN. The Expos are down 2-0, and they've had trouble scoring runs lately. Only 11 in their last 6 games, and trouble hitting. And we talked to Buck Rogers about that just prior to this game.
Really, Raines and Brooks and Wallach are 2 guys or 3 guys that we feel that are going to have to start to hit, and we know they're going to hit. But coupled with the lack of offense at second base and shortstop, it makes it look like a real lackluster club, and it has been. The things we did well last year, 2 out base hits, scoring the runs when we had to, and when the other team gave us runs, that was our big plus. This year we haven't taken advantage as well.
Only needs a couple of runs now, and they've been hard to come by lately, but the stingy Houston Astros send Danny Darwin back to the mound with a 2-0 lead over Buck Rogers and the Expos. Andres Galarraga will lead things off in the top of the 2nd inning. 347 average, and while some of the bats have gone silent, Galarraga's has not. Hitting .405 over his last 10 games, .316 in his last 6. Had a 13-game hitting streak snapped last weekend.
Big Cat, once he got that average over 300, he soared up to around the 350 mark. There's a line drive. Kevin Bass will come up with it in the corner, might hold Galarraga to a single. He does, but the Cat is on to lead off the top half of the 2nd inning.
He stumbled coming around first, may have had a mind to go for second, but certainly didn't after the stumble.
I don't think he was going to challenge Kevin Bass out in right field simply because the Expos are down by 2 runs. You don't take chances when you're behind in a ball game.
Here's the catcher, Jeff Reed, hitting .294. He's done most of the catching. He and Mike Fitzgerald split things up. Reed has started 11 games, Fitzgerald 8. Fitzgerald 3 of the last 4. But Reed's in tonight.
I think it's the way that Danny Darwin affects right-handed hitters. They kind of have that foot going back in the dugout. There's a sinker for ball 1. Jim, we talked about how tough it is to hit here in Houston. Generally thought of as the best pitcher's park in the National League and maybe all of baseball. The ball doesn't seem to carry. They've moved the fences in, and still Astro pitchers gave up the fewest home runs in their home park and had the best earned run average in their home park. 46 homers last year here. Ground ball to second. This could be 2. Ramirez to Davis. 2 down.
The runner Galarraga was going, and Reed hit the ball just to the spot that he didn't want to.
Well, you can see it's a 1-hopper. That's a perfect double play ball. Tailor-made, they call it. Pitcher's best friend. So Danny Darwin now has 2 outs and Tom Foley. As I was saying about the Astrodome, the Astros allowed 46 homers here and had a 2.88 earned run average, which was the best in the league. But on the road, they gave up 95 homers and gave up almost 2 more runs a game at 4.89, which was the worst in the league. So they got a false sense of security once they got out of the Astrodome and started giving up the long ball.
Well, one of the things that might affect that are people like Darwin and Ryan and Scott who pitch hard. Ryan in particular and Darwin. They're just fly balls in this park because it's so big, but you're bound when you pitch that hard to give up some home runs.
Well, plus the fact I've heard from visiting players over a number of years about the Astrodome and coming in here that the lighting is so much different than any other ballpark. I think they feel that even the Big O in Montreal, another dome stadium, has a better lighting system. You can see the ball better.
The 0-2 pitch inside to Tom Foley. Starts at shortstop with Luis Rivera on the bench against a tough right-hander. Off the fists and foul.
Maybe to go along with the fact that people like Darwin and Nolan Ryan and Mike Scott Dave Smith throws so hard you can't see it anyway.
Yeah, doesn't matter what kind of light. Picking up Darwin was a pretty good deal. Gave up their pitcher named Don August, Mark Knudsen. It's 1986 and got Danny Darwin. Played well since moving back to Texas. Fly ball to left field and Billy Hatcher pulls it in. Galarraga gets a hit, but the double play ball erased him. And it's another easy inning for Danny Darwin. The Astros have staked him to a 2-0 lead. This is Labatt Expos Baseball on TSN. Astrodome in Houston, Texas, where the Astros lead by a score of 2-0. There's a look at the games in the National League yesterday, with Pittsburgh winning again. Mike Dunn coming off the DL and winning 2-1 over San Francisco. Chicago beats Los Angeles 5-1. St. Louis over San Diego 6-4.
Take a look at the American League scores from yesterday. Dave Stewart won his 6th game of the year. He's 6-0 as they beat the Blue Jays 6-2. Seattle over the Cleveland Indians. They slowed them down. Final score there was 3-1. Kansas City with George Brett having a home run. A big night, 3 RBIs. They beat the Yankees 6-3. Frank Tanana is now 5-0 as the Tigers beat the Angels 2-1. And oh yes, the Baltimore Orioles lost their 21st straight ball game. Final score there in Minnesota was 4-2.
But they're in Chicago tonight and they're up 2-0 early.
Hasn't meant much. They've been up before.
There it is, 2nd inning in the Oriole watch.
I'll tell you what, on Monday night in Baltimore, they returned from this 12-game road trip where they've had, I guess you could say, very little success. And
absolutely none.
supposedly they're going to have 45,000 at Memorial Stadium in Baltimore to welcome the Orioles back. And people in Baltimore don't want them to win while they're on the road. They want them to win their first game when they come back to Memorial Stadium.
Bottom of the 2nd, and Danny Darwin, the pitcher, is the first man to face Dennis Martinez. The 2-0 lead for Baltimore, by the way, is on a Eddie Murray home run, 2-run shot.
I guess Chicago would be a place that Eddie would get it together. He hit 8 home runs against the White Sox last year, more than twice as many as anybody else. And over the years, he's really hit well in Comiskey Park.
I was listening to some man-on-the-street interviews in Baltimore, from Baltimore the other day, and asking people on the street what they thought about the Orioles. And one guy said, you know, they're really not that bad. They should have at least one win by now. There's a bunt picked up by Martinez over to first, and Danny Darwin's retired one away.
Martinez bouncing off the mound. Pitcher becomes an extra infielder once the pitch is thrown to the plate. And pitchers who feel their positions well can only serve to help themselves out in the long run. Gerald Young grounded back to Martinez in the 1st inning. Young with 11 stolen bases.
Now 2nd to Tim Raines.
At this early junction of the season. Switch hitting outfielder.
Good leadoff man. Doesn't strike out very much. Takes some walks, gets some hits, and can steal.
Came up last year in July. In fact, it was July 8th. Went on to hit .321 for the Astros.
1-1 pitch from Dennis Martinez. Fouled away by Young. A ball and 2 strikes. Talked about Tim Raines and his base stealing and how efficient he was on artificial turf. Gerald Young was like that too. 12 for 12 on the carpet last season. 14 of 23 on grass.
With this new surface here, they might be even, I don't know how you can get a better percentage than 12 of 12, but I would think it might be even faster on this new track here at the Astrodome.
Well, I've always heard about athletes giving 110%. Maybe he can get better.
You were telling me before the game about the system they've installed underneath the carpet here. Everybody should have this system in their shoes.
Yes, indeed. There's the 1-2 pitch from Martinez. He struck him out. The first strikeout for Dennis Martinez, and there's 2 away.
After a steady diet of breaking balls, the target is right on the inside corner and right to the glove. See you later, Gerald.
Good pitch. Yes, underneath the carpet here, it's concrete, but there are all sorts of little, what shall we call them, ditches. I will figure that out and tell you about it when we come back. Wallach throws out Billy Hatcher. So Dennis Martinez has a much better inning in the second than he did in the first, but the Expos are still down 2-0 as Wallach makes the play to retire Hatcher. Just in time. This is Labatt Expos Baseball on TSN. Danny Darwin and the Houston Astros have a 2-0 lead over the Montreal Expos going to the top of the third. Let's take a look at the batting order and how it breaks down. Now, the top of the order, these are the top 3 guys in the Expos order. Basically, Raines, Webster, and Brooks for the most part. Hitting .259, scored 31, and driven in 31. Take a look at the middle of the order. This is Wallach, Galarraga, and the catcher spot. 309, 26 runs, and just 21 RBIs, though. Galarraga has driven in the majority of them, but the problem spot is at the bottom. The 7, 8, and 9 spot hitting just 191. And that's part of the reason that Buck Rogers has made a change and called up Johnny Paredes from AAA Indianapolis, sending Casey Candell down. The high hopper off the carpet and a gun from Craig Reynolds over to first to get Paredes.
Paredes' first major league at bat. I can remember mine so many years ago. I was happy to hit the ball too. I grounded out the second. Didn't hit the ball nearly that hard though.
Maybe if this carpet wasn't so cushioned, that would have bounced a little higher and over the head of the third baseman. Here's the pitcher, Dennis Martinez.
So we're back to the carpet.
Yeah, I got it figured out. Underneath this carpet are these little trenches that they flow air through. They're always pumping air through them. So basically, it's like this carpet is floating on a cushion of air.
If they had left the door open today, as hard as it was raining, it would be floating.
It would be floating, yes. Darwin has given up just 1 hit, that to Andres Galarraga in the second. 1-1 is the count on Dennis Martinez.
Now, Darwin himself, coming to the Astrodome, he had a problem giving up home runs in the American League. He gives up a base hit here to Dennis Martinez. Hit number 2 for the Expos tonight.
Dennis is making this look routine. His 270 average is better than anybody else at the bottom of the Expo order, and now he's aboard with 1 away in the top of the third inning. The top of the order, and Tim Raines coming to the plate.
Raines, this isn't his favorite ballpark. In fact, I would say it's one of his least favorite, maybe the least favorite. Over the years, he's only hit .217 here in Houston.
Well, you could look at this lineup tonight and for the Montreal Expos say, yikes, if they got trouble. Raines, Webster, and Wallach all have their lowest career averages versus the Astros. Galarraga hits .210. Tim Burke's 0-2. Martinez has a lifetime ERA of 7.16 against Houston. So who comes to the rescue? Got to be Hubie Brooks, who hits .304 here.
You got to try and get Hubie up there with some men on base. This is the only ballpark where Tim Raines does not have at least a lifetime .280 average. There's a lazy fly ball in the left center field. Gerald Young casually goes over, one-handed, makes the catch. Martinez returns to first, and there's 2 down in the top of the third. That's not the way Tim Raines wants to hit a ball. Lazy fly balls. Usually he likes to hit those line drives to the opposite field.
Mitch Webster struck out in the first. Mitch has been finding ways to get on. Here he wants to advance the runner with 2 out. His .411 on base percentage. It's 5th in the league. Rafael Ramirez calls for this, and the shortstop makes the catch. The Expos are gone quietly after Dennis Martinez tried to get them going with a 1-out single. Raines and Webster pop the ball up, and it's 2-0 for Darwin and the Astros through 2.5. This is Labatt Expos Baseball on TSN. Matt Gallendi in his 4th year, a former All-American second baseman at St. John's University, and Dennis Menke at third base, who Billy Hatcher says is going to be managerial material. He said, I don't know how long we're going to be able to hold on to this guy. Somebody's going to scoop him up and make him a manager. They'll watch the base paths as the Astros come to the plate in the bottom of the 3rd with a 2-0 lead built in the 1st on a 2-run homer by Glenn Davis. They left the bases loaded off Dennis Martinez. All of that came with 2 out.
Deja vu all over again, like Yogi said. Yogi Berra, man of many sayings. Nobody goes there anymore. It's too crowded. Yogi involved in 21 World Series, 14 as a player. That's when the Yankees were going every year. Got all those World Series checks. Hasn't cashed them yet.
Kevin Bass, Glenn Davis, and Alan Ashby. The Houston hitters due up to face Dennis Martinez in the bottom of the 3rd. Martinez has been real sharp this season. Opposing hitters have hit just 198 against Dennis this season.
He and Pascual Perez. Perez is just a little bit better at 191. So they've been very stingy.
This is a 3-game series, and the Expos really have to get into that 5-man rotation now because they don't have as many off days. Once May gets here, tomorrow it'll be Jim Deshaies against Bryn Smith. Sunday, Mike Scott against Neil Heaton, who's back off the disabled list. Right now, it's Dennis Martinez facing the batter, Kevin Bass. Singled, scored a run, stole a base. Stole the base before he scored the run. Takes a strike.
Manager Hal Lanier talking about his pitching. Manager Buck Rogers certainly can't fault his starters the way they've been throwing. A high fly ball towards left fielder Tim Raines. Here's one down.
The Labatt player of the game for the Astros will receive this hand-carved Inuit sculpture presented by H.H. Brown, makers of Walkabouts. Walkabouts, Canada's new lightweight walking shoes for men with padded comfort and unique airflow sole. Walk a more comfortable mile in Walkabouts by H.H. Brown. I wonder if they've got little air ducts running through them too, like the Astrodome. One away here. Glenn Davis is the batter. Of course, hit the 2-out, 2-run home run in the 1st. Off the fist this time. Back for it is Tom Foley, the shortstop, and Davis will go no further. There's 2 away.
Tom Foley inserted in the lineup in place of Luis Rivera, who has struggled with the bat. Said manager Buck Rogers, trying to get more offense out of the bottom part of the lineup, has inserted Foley, who was a 290 hitter last year for him.
Alan Ashby walked in the 1st, right after the home run from Davis, and those two may have gone hand in hand. Martinez shaken up by the rocket from Davis, and then gave up the walk to Ashby.
So that breaking ball from Dennis, that hard curve ball. Fastball on the corner. Pinpoint control on both of those pitches.
Really settled down in the 2nd and now in the 3rd. And the Astros 1-2-3 in the 2nd, and has 2 out here. 0-2 pitch, and Ashby is gone. Martinez struck him out. The 2nd strikeout for Martinez. 6 pitches to get rid of the Astros in the third for Martinez. The Expos trail 2-0. It's up to the hitters to do their job now. This is Labatt Expos Baseball on TSN. Now let's go to TSN Control for this sports update. Manager Hal Lanier of the Astros and third base coach Dennis Menke discuss things. The Astros out in front of the Expos 2-0. The Expos' first visit to the Astrodome. They're in a stretch now, playing the third game of 33 straight against West Division teams. Last year versus the West, the Expos were 43-29. That was the second best record amongst East Division teams. Against the West, St. Louis had the best one. Here's Hubie Brooks to face Danny Darwin. And behind 0-1. Darwin has given up just a pair of hits, one to Galarraga, one to Dennis Martinez. It's up high with a fastball. 1-1. Got Hubie to go after that one. A ball and 2 strikes.
RBI leaders in the National League. Glenn Davis of Houston on top. Bobby Bonilla, the Pittsburgh Pirates. Lance Parrish. Hubie Brooks.
Way up in the air. See balls go up that high. I wonder if they can hit the roof in here. There was once someone who's hit one of the speakers that are a million miles in the air. In fact, this 18-story building could fit in here if you ever wanted to put it in here. But Mike Schmidt hit one of the speakers in left field. And the ball dropped and he got a single because it's in play.
And not only that, if the outfielder had caught the ball before it hit the ground, he would have been out.
I guess off the speaker that'd be allowed out. Over to have a look at this one is Kevin Bass, and that's all he'll get as the man in the Astro hat pulls it down.
Which one?
Daryl and his other brother Daryl.
There's a couple of Darlas out here too.
There's one of the speakers hanging from the roof in the Astrodome in Houston. Opened in 1965, the original dome. Building seats 45,000 people. And will soon seat 55,000 for baseball. They're expanding. Brooks fouls another one off, and the count is full 3-2. Nobody aboard, top of the fourth.
I know they're building new skyboxes for football here, but I don't know where they're going to put the extra 10,000 people unless they knock out a wall.
They got big seats here. Maybe they're going to make them smaller. There's a base hit off the fist for Hubie Brooks. So the Expos have the leadoff man aboard. They did that in the first and stranded Tim Raines at third. This time Brooks is aboard with the single to right. That'll bring up the middle of the order to see if they can move him around and bring him home. Tim Wallach is the batter.
Wallach with just 5 RBIs this stage of the season. Hubie taking his lead at first.
Wallach's stats are a little deceiving that he's only driven in 5 runs and his average is at 250, but he's really got it together lately. 8 for his last 22, so he's 364 in the 6 games that the Expos have had trouble scoring in. Only 1 RBI to show for it. He's hitting only 125 with runners in scoring position this year. Last year he hit 280. But he's getting hits lately. He's just not driving in runs.
Well, when Tim Raines, Mitch Webster get their on-base percentages up a little bit better, they'll get more opportunities and they'll start driving in more runs. Pop up, middle of the infield. Rafael Ramirez. There's one down.
Wallach's now 0 for 2. And Hubie stands on first. Andres Galarraga comes up, singled in the second.
You know, I was thinking about Ubi Brooks and being hit by that pitch, and if you watch Andres Galarraga, that pitch that Ubi was hit by Danny Darwin last year, if you watch Galarraga and his style of hitting, he led the league in being hit by a pitch last year 10 times. But the reason being, he stands well off the plate and strides in on every pitch. So every pitch that's inside is just off the plate, he has to jump back from. Speaking of jumping back, Ubi Brooks is safely back at first base.
Ubi's stolen 3 times this year.
So Galarraga's style of hitting, and a pitcher like Danny Darwin, you see how far off the plate Gala is. And he'll stride right into the plate. It's a breaking ball high. So in order for Galarraga to cover the outside corner, he has to move in very sharply, almost a dive, just to reach the corner. Now he actually does like the ball out over the plate. He has good power to straightaway center, right center, and left center. I wouldn't categorize Galarraga as a pull hitter, but that's how he gets his arms extended. He can drive the ball to all points of the field.
Now, because he stands back so far, do people like Darwin always try and pitch him outside where he's really got to reach?
They think they can get the ball out there, but that's where he likes it.
Hits this one hard. It's over the head of Gerald Young and off the wall. Ubi Brooks is around third and being waved home. They won't have a play as Brooks is in standing up. A double for Galarraga, and the Expos are on the board, trailing 2-1.
Andres Galarraga picks up his 12th run batted in of the season as Ubi Brooks heads back to the dugout. The Expos' first run. Gerald Young about a foot away from his glove. Enables Ubi to score all the way from first base.
That would have been a sensational play had Young been able to reach out and get that, but he couldn't. And instead, it's a great offensive play for Andres Galarraga.
Now, I believe that pitch was out over the plate. He had to reach for it and pulled it.
The 8th double of the season for Galarraga. The Expos are on the board with 1 away, top of the 4th. Galarraga's 2 for 2, and Reed's up, hit into a double play in the 2nd. Fouled off the end of the bat. 1-1. He joined us late. Glenn Davis hit a 2-run home run with 2 out in the first to stake Danny Darwin to a 2-0 lead. The Expos have come back and got one here on an RBI double by Andres Galarraga.
Well, here's the point in the Expo lineup where the punch seems to drop off, and here's where manager Buck Rogers would like to see some more hitting. Reed's average is up there at 294, but he only has 2 runs batted in on the season. Good look at Buck.
Rogers doesn't waste any time making moves when he sees problems around his team, as evidenced by his quick sending of Casey Candell to the minors before the season was 20 games old, calling up Johnny Paredes. Randy St. Clair sent down, and Joe Hesketh back in the bullpen. That's Galarraga out on second base. Tying runs in scoring position. Fouled away again as Reed has little trouble getting around quick enough on Danny Darwin's pitches. Count is 1-2 to the catcher Jeff Reed. Figures to watch tomorrow night with a left-hander pitching. Fitzgerald will come in and catch in that game. Hard shot up the middle. Gerald Young going back. It's off his glove. He misplayed it. Andres Galarraga being waved home around third. The tying run is on its way to home plate. There's a throw into third. Reed is there standing up as the ball squirts away from Reynolds. It's a tie game. 2-2.
But Gerald Young was playing a step or two towards left center. This ball is hit almost directly back over second base. But Young slightly misjudged it. He still has the excellent speed, almost got to it, but the ball broke off of his glove. That's going to go for a triple and a run batted in for Jeff Reed.
Buck Rogers hopes this is contagious and his team will break out now. Infield has moved way in for Tom Foley with a go-ahead run on third. One away, top of the fourth. And Foley hits the ball over top of them. The Expos will have the lead. An RBI single for Tom Foley as Jeff Reed comes in to score. A 3-run fourth for Montreal and counting. And they're up 3-2.
Production is coming from that bottom of the order. Here in the top half of the fourth inning, as the Expos are on the board with 3 runs and take the lead. And they're hitting the ball hard, which might give an indication that Danny Darwin's losing it. And for one of the rare times early in the season, the Expo bullpen is up and at it.
Jeff Heathcock running out there to get some warm-up pitches in, a right-hander. And inside, welcome to the big leagues to Johnny Paredes. Little chin music.
Remember when I was back with the Orioles years ago, we had light-hitting Mark Belanger, usually batted 9th in the order. We have a bombing lineup, hit all kinds of home runs, hit the ball hard. Who would get knocked down? It was Mark Belanger.
Yeah. Excuse me, I think you got my number wrong. Wrong guy. Brooks got this started with a single. Wallach then popped up. Galarraga drove in a run with a double. Reed hit one to the wall, a triple off the glove of the center fielder Gerald Young. Tom Foley followed with a single over a drawn-in infield. And the Expos have a 3-2 lead on 4 hits here in the fourth off Danny Darwin. They now have 6 hits off him overall. Another high, tight pitch to Johnny Paredes. And they'll buy a little time as Heathcock continues to warm up.
Pitching coach Les Moss on the way to the mound, former manager of the Detroit Tigers, just before the Tigers got Sparky Anderson. Trying to slow this game down a bit, give Heathcock a chance to warm up, get ready in case he's called upon by manager Hal Lanier.
The bullpen is a place that Hal Lanier doesn't really want to go if he can avoid it, unless he's going out there to get Dave Smith in a 1-run ball game to mow somebody down in the late going. But in the early innings, his bullpen is not a place he wants to go because it just hasn't been very good. Another high inside pitch to Johnny Paredes, and it's a walk issued by Danny Darwin. 2 aboard with 1 out. Walk number 2 issued by Darwin. He really runs into problems here after mowing the Expos down, going at them pretty good in the first 3 innings and having very little problem.
Dennis Martinez up at the plate. Already 1 for 1, but probably a bunt situation here. Craig Reynolds in at third. Glenn Davis ready to charge from first. Martinez already squares around and then swings away.
Hitter like that, you can't have him bunting. He's got to be swinging away. Up in the air, and Davis is over to haul it in right at the fence in front of the dugout. Never expect the logical from Buck Rogers.
Dennis squared around and then swings away. At 270 batting average, maybe having something to do with it. I'm a hitter now, he said.
Notice you haven't been making fun of him at all this season.
Well, after he hit that home run, I figured anybody who can hit a ball over the fence doesn't deserve any kidding anymore. He's a serious hitter.
He's arrived as a hitter.
And here's a serious hitter, Tim Raines.
Runner in scoring position. He's got Tom Foley out on second. Paredes is on first. There's now 2 away. Top of the 4th as the Expos make some noise with their bats and take a 3-2 lead. Heathcock warming in the pen. Danny Darwin still on the mound. Off the fist, Ramirez going back, and he'll have time to get there and make the play to get the 3rd out. But the Expos get 3 runs on 4 hits. 2 of the hits for extra bases, a double and a triple, and Montreal has a lead over Danny Darwin and the Astros 3-2. This is Labatt Expos Baseball on TSN. The Expos have taken the lead at the Astrodome 3-1. Looking for a special group outing? Take advantage of the Super Expos group program. By organizing a group of 30 people or more, you'll receive a free Expos cap and 2 complimentary tickets. For a group of 500 persons or more, you'll take advantage of a 35% discount on specific seats for your group, and you'll receive 4 complimentary tickets. There's the number to call, the Expos group department, for more information. This broadcast is presented by authority of the Montreal Baseball Club Limited and may not be rebroadcast in any form without the express written consent of the Montreal Baseball Club Limited. You're watching the Expos on TSN. I'm Jim Hughson with Ken Singleton. The Astrodome in Houston, Texas, where it's a blustery, rainy night outside, but it's a climate-controlled 20 degrees, and there's no wind blowing indoors. Montreal Expos have had 4 hits off of Danny Darwin in their half of the 4th and have taken a 3-2 lead as the Expos put Dennis Martinez back to work in the bottom of the 4th.
Well, Dennis got off to a bit of a shaky start in the first inning, allowing 2 of the Astro runs. But he settled in the last couple of innings, maybe getting used to the foreign mound, and now he finds himself with the lead, 3-2.
Came in here with an earned run average of over 7 against the Houston Astros. And his worst nightmares were revisited in the first inning as Davis hit the 2-run homer off him with 2 outs. Then he left the bases loaded. Here's Reynolds. He'll be followed by Ramirez and Pankovitz. Bottom half of the 4th. Reynolds, the 3rd baseman tonight. Martinez throws a strike. 0-1. Off the end of the bat and a line drive right to Tim Wallach at 3rd base, who alertly made the grab. And Martinez, after having trouble in the first inning, has now retired 7 in a row since the start of the 2nd.
Starting to settle in, mixing up his pitches a little bit better. The Astro fans are waving their Astro hats, trying to get something started here with Rafael Ramirez at the plate.
I gotta believe this is a cap night at the ballpark. Unless these people always dress the same.
Hard breaking ball in for a strike. 0-2 to Ramirez. Jim, you had mentioned that the Astros were looking for a shortstop at the end of last season. They come with Rafael Ramirez, who will probably be a better fielder here at the Astrodome than he was with Atlanta over the years. The Atlanta infield, of course, one of the natural surfaces in the National League, and not known as one of the better infields in the league. And Ramirez had led the league in errors for a number of years at shortstop, 5 years in a row. I'm sure he's happy to be out of Atlanta in a place where he's going to get some true hops in the infield.
He wasn't able to extend that dubious record because in the last couple of years he didn't play enough. Outside ball, 2-2. Astros are having no trouble with their infield now. In fact, they have the best defense in the league right now. Fewest errors. Fly ball to left field. Raines is watching it go foul. Missed it by that much.
Dennis with a little bit of a smile on his face. He got away with one. I saw a funny situation a few years back in in Milwaukee. Rick Dempsey hit a ball very similar to this one. It went foul, but he thought it was fair. He ran all the way around the bases. He got to home plate. The home plate umpire told him it was a foul ball, and he struck out on the next pitch.
Oh, no. That's embarrassing.
Oh, we were dying with laughter. John McSherry with the call at first base. Count runs full, 3-2 with 1 out.
Ramirez singled in the first and was stranded by Dennis Martinez. Here's the 3-2 pitch. He struck him out. Strikeout number 3 for Dennis Martinez.
After Ramirez pulled the fastball foul, Dennis says, I'm going to trick you 3-2. Gives him the breaking ball. That was a nasty one.
Wicked curve. 2 away then for Jim Pankovitz. Pankovitz hit a ground ball that ended the first inning after 2 runs were in and the bases were loaded. Had a mind to go but didn't, and a called strike.
Dennis dropped down sidearm with that breaking ball, and that's the old knee locker, the one where the right-handed hitter kind of tries to step back in the dugout, takes it for strike 1.
Martinez is really into a groove here now and gets his 2nd consecutive strikeout. Gets the side in order. Strikeout number 4 for Martinez, and he's retired 9 in a row since the start of the 2nd, and Pankovitz can just watch and hope for another chance. 3-2 Expos after 4. This is Labatt Expos Baseball on TSN. Expos coaches Bobby Winkles down at first base, who was a coach with Buck Rogers with the Giants in 1976, and Jackie Moore, who, like the manager Buck Rogers, was a catcher in his playing days and was the opening day catcher in 1965 for the Detroit Tigers. The Expos are up 3-2 at the Astrodome, called a Texans' refusal to be shoved around by Mother Nature. They were pushed about today. A stormy night outside, but a beautiful night inside. Danny Darwin comes back out for the top of the 5th.
We have an excellent crowd here at the Astrodome tonight, too. Cap night.
So I wonder if the managing director, owner of this team is around tonight, or whether he's in the East pacing, getting set for a hockey game tomorrow night. John McMullen, the owner of the Astros, is also the owner of the New Jersey Devils. Mitch Webster hits this one just on the line in left field, right around the mound, and Hatcher came over to make the play. That's tricky around there with that bullpen mound not far away.
Not only the bullpen mound, but also the wall coming up very quickly, and you don't want all 3 of you to arrive at the same time. Nice play by the speedy Billy Hatcher in left field. Said Mr. McMullen is the owner of the New Jersey Devils.
They'll play in Washington in Game 7 of their Patrick Division final tomorrow night
at the Cap Center.
Wouldn't it be great to have 2 teams? I mean, I've always dreamed of owning 1. But 2 at different sports. Boy, look out Charlie Finley. If I ever got a hold of a team, I'd be an active owner. I'd be down in that locker room every day.
Would you be making out the lineups like Charlie used to do?
Yeah, I'd try. 2-1 the count on Hubie Brooks. Hits this one on the ground. Second baseman Pankovitz makes the play. And there's 2 away.
Good look at Jim Pankovitz. born in Pennington Gap, Virginia. Don't ask me where it is. I have no idea. Virginia's a fairly large state. Maybe somebody will call from Pennington Gap on extra innings.
Give us a geography lesson.
If the phone isn't busy.
Tim Wallach has grounded out and popped up tonight. Danny Darwin settles down here in the 5th after giving up 4 pretty loud hits in the 4th, a triple and a double amongst them. Pitch is low, ball 2, 2-1. Jeff Heathcock was warming in the bullpen in the last innings, has now returned and is sitting down as Darwin has 2 out here in the 5th.
You know, Jim, it seems to me when Tim Wallach starts to get in a bit of a slump, it's because he's trying to pull the ball too much. Swings and misses, strike 3. And the Expos are retired here in the top of the 5th. No damage against Danny Darwin.
This is Labatt Expos Baseball on TSN. For the Houston Astros this year, 12-7, second in the National League West, and a great pitching staff. We wondered aloud to Hal Lanier whether he had any areas of concern on his team.
Not really. I think we have a very 24 good man roster, probably better than the 24 man roster we had in '86 or last year, especially because I think we have a better bench this year. We have a better bullpen, and I've got more flexibility this year than I did last year.
The '86 manager of the year, Hal Lanier, managing against the '87 manager of the year tonight. Buck Rogers of the Expos and Montreal one up on Hal Lanier in his club 3-2. Little scoreboard watching tonight. Ooh, Baltimore is up 3-0 in Chicago. 5th inning, Eddie Murray has a 2-run home run in that game. Will it last? Will that DJ finally get to go home to bed?
Bob Rivers, 98 Rock in Baltimore. Been there forever. But he's making time and a half, so yeah.
He must be playing a lot of old tunes by now.
He's playing a lot of Iningata Davida 20-minute songs.
Yeah.
Take a nap.
Dennis Martinez comes on to work in the bottom half of the 5th inning. Danny Darwin will be the first batter he'll face, and then to the top of the order, and Gerald Young and Billy Hatcher, a 3-2 lead for the Montreal Expos. The Astros have 4 hits, all of them in the 1st inning. And Dennis is just in a groove right now. He's throwing everything for strikes, throws the curveball there for strike 1. And he gets it again on the outside corner. That's a wicked curve and just in the strike zone. 0-2.
Well, Darwin has he tied a Astro record with 3 hits in a game, but last year he struck out 40 times, more than any other pitcher in the league. And he's on his way with another one right there. Strikeout number 5 for Dennis Martinez. That breaking ball is working. 3rd consecutive strikeout.
Retired 11 batters in a row. Going back to the last out of inning number 1. Here's the top of the order, and Gerald Young. He was strikeout victim number 1 in the bottom of the 2nd. Off the end of the bat, into the glove of Wallach. And Martinez is wasting no time dispatching the Astros.
Time for a new bat for Mr. Young. His bat suddenly becomes old.
No good. Get rid of it. The line drive back. Billy Hatcher grounded out twice to the 3rd baseman Wallach. Ooh. Check that bat. Anything in it? Nah.
He's learned his lesson. No more 8-day suspensions for Billy Hatcher.
No more Dave Smith autographed bats.
Yeah. Well, Hatcher, this time of year, he led the National League in hitting in April of 1987 with 391. Got off the year with a 16-game hitting streak. And this year started the year with a 9-game hitting streak. Here's a guy who really comes out of spring training swinging the bat.
the sheriff's checking that over, partner.
Get out the Cubs.
Sorry, son, we're going to have to look at your bat.
That was our director, Billy McCoy, with a great shot.
Two away. As you see, 0-2 to Billy Hatcher.
Looked like the policeman that used to sell those cars. Remember him? Sheriff, and that ball was fouled back out of play. No balls in two straight. Remember him?
I don't think so. Which show?
Well, it was a car commercial.
Oh, okay.
I won't mention the brand of car, but remember the sheriff used to catch everybody speeding? Ah, you all know, it was Dodge. Yeah, Dodge commercial. Used to wear the dark glasses. Looks just like it. Now catching ball players with illegal bats.
Making a cameo appearance. The 0-2 pitch. Ooh, misses inside. 1-2. On the ground for Wallach. Makes a nice play. Hatcher hits the ball on the ground to the third baseman for the third time in the game, and Dennis Martinez has another 1-2-3 inning. The Expos continue to lead 3-2 deep in the heart of Texas. This is Labatt Expos Baseball on TSN. Now let's go to TSN Control for another sports update. Callers were the Texas Flamethrowers. The Ryan Express, Nolan Ryan on the left and Mike Scott on the right. Two of the best pitchers in baseball, and are they cooking to start this season?
The all-time strikeout leader, Nolan Ryan.
Andres Galarraga, the leadoff man for the Expos, hits one on the ground, and it's thrown away by Pankovits. A throwing error on the second baseman, Pankovits, and Galarraga is aboard for the third time in the game.
You know what I think forced this error is the fact that Galarraga hustles every single time down to first base, and he puts pressure on the infielders to make quick throws over the first. A lot of them aren't aware that Galarraga has that type of speed, and when they look up, all of a sudden they have to snap the ball over there, and this time it results in an error on second baseman Jim Pankovits.
The Expos have been finding ways to get the leadoff men aboard tonight. They've done it here in the sixth to lead things off. Put the leadoff man aboard in the fourth, in the first, in the second. 4 times tonight. Here's Jeff Reed, who tripled to score Galarraga in the fourth. Galarraga on first base. 3-2 Expos, top of 6. Danny Darwin last season, when he pitched, the Astros went 18-12 the games that he pitched. That was second best on the team. They were 19-17 when Mike Scott pitched, but curiously 12-12 when Nolan Ryan pitched. They just gave him no run support. I wonder why it is that the team scored a run a game more for Danny Darwin than they did for Nolan Ryan.
I think what happens is, Jim, that they're so enamored by the way that Ryan pitches, they just sit around and watch him perform, figuring they're not going to need many runs anyway to win the ball game. Well, here and there you get an error or a couple of walks by Nolan Ryan, and all of a sudden you've scored, the other team has scored. And his ERA still remains intact, but they're on the short side of the score, 3-2 and 4-3. Breaking ball drops in for a strike to Jeff Reed.
One of the other things that might happen, too, is when a guy like Ryan is pitching, the guy who's opposing him, the other member of the mound staff, gets all pumped up to pitch against Nolan Ryan. And some guys come out and pitch some great games in opposition to him.
Throw to first. Galarraga's back. Andres has 3 stolen bases this year, has yet to be caught. And remember what Buck Rogers said. Gonna have the runners on the move a little bit more. And with a count 2-2, this might be a good pitch to send Galarraga. Try and stay out of the double play. Maybe put a little bit of more pressure on the defense. Get the infielders out of position. Trying to cover bases. Maybe Jeff Reed can sneak a ground ball or a line drive through a vacated spot.
Darwin steps off. Now digs in. Galarraga is on his way. Reed hits it on the ground. Davis comes up with it, and he'll go back to first. Now over to second quickly to try and catch Galarraga, who'd rounded the bag. Not in time. Davis pulls it down, makes a nice play, but with Galarraga going, had no chance to go to second and start a double play. But he did erase Jeff Reed.
As we said, there he goes, trying to stay out of the double play. And this ball comes inches from going over Davis's head. He sees he has no play at second base. If Galarraga wasn't on the move, that might have been a 3-6-3 double play. Now, Galarraga had lost the ball. He wasn't sure where it was, had to scramble back to second base. So that's the case of manager Buck Rogers trying to stay out of the double play. The Astros have already turned 1 tonight.
One away for Tom Foley, who singled in the 4th and drove in a run. In fact, it's the go-ahead run. The Expos put together their 5-game winning streak. Foley had only 2 hits during it, and both of them were game winners. Ground ball that time that just stayed fair, and covering was Danny Darwin. Galarraga advances to third. 2 away.
Now Glenn Davis not only has to scramble to make the play going down the line, but watch this, a nice block by first baseman John McSherry. Fights him off. Like digging the puck out of the corner and getting it to your centerman.
You want to be careful, you're running into John. Andres Galarraga now down at third base. Some insurance 90 feet away. As Johnny Paredes comes to the plate, has walked and grounded out. That'll get the Astros thinking.
Well, Craig Reynolds was already about even with the bag at third base, so he wasn't exactly fooled by Paredes in that fake bunt.
Galarraga at third, 2 away. Swinging away this time, a base hit and the first major league RBI for Johnny Paredes. The Expos lead 4-2.
Now with the pitcher coming up next, Danny Darwin might wish that he had that pitch back, as that baseball will be sent to the Expos dugout. First major league hit for Johnny Paredes.
And it comes with an RBI.
Well, that will go as an unearned run against Danny Darwin. Galarraga reaching on the error by second baseman Jim Pankovic to start the inning off. A couple of ground outs. And the key to that inning might have been Buck Rogers sending Galarraga on the 2-2 pitch.
Stays out of the double play, and the man comes around to score. Martinez hits one on the ground and looked like he hurt himself. Pankovic comes up with it. Either that or he just slipped coming out of the box. More than just dejection for a ground out, I think, there, as Martinez slowly makes his way back to the Expo dugout. Will take his time as he's due to come back up and pitch.
Take a look at the swing by Dennis. It's hard to tell on the replay. He went out of frame. But anyway, the Expos have picked up another run.
On the first major league hit and RBI for Johnny Paredes, Montreal has a 4-2 lead. This is Labatt Expos Baseball on TSN. Welcome back to Houston, where the Expos have taken a 4-2 lead. Why not buy Expos baseball tickets from the comfort of your home? All you need is a telephone and a credit card. Call now to Expos Tel at 253-0700 in Montreal, or the number you see on your screen, 1-800-361-0658. Elsewhere in the province of Quebec, including the Ottawa region, weekdays from 9 to 6. Expos Tel, a perfect way to see the Expos in action at Olympic Stadium. Dennis Martinez was slow coming out of the dugout to take his warm-up pitches, and Buck Rogers is going to come out and see that he's all right. And he may not be there, hustling down in the bullpen to get Andy McGaffigan ready in case he's needed. Buck Rogers will come out and buy some time.
Seems to be either Dennis's knee or hip, or maybe a pulled groin muscle on that swing for the final out of the top half of the 6th inning.
He either hurt himself on the swing, which is somewhat unorthodox and way outside, or slipped trying to get out of the box. He looked like he stumbled, actually, as he took off from the box. So Andy McGaffigan warms up. There's a conference on the mound. Martinez has been simply great since the first inning. I think that'll be all for Dennis Martinez.
Here's a look at it. Definitely an unusual swing. Way out in front. Seems to lose his balance trying to come out of the batter's box.
So Martinez is gone. McGaffigan is coming in. This pitching change is brought to you by Skill. Bullpen at all.
Andy McGaffigan making his 10th appearance of the season, which leads the Expo staff and is among the league leaders in games. McGaffigan has done a fine job out of the bullpen in his middle relief role for the last couple of seasons. Brings a 1-0 record and a 3.77 ERA to the mound. And struck out 10 hitters in 14 in the 3rd inning. So it's up to Andy McGaffigan to protect his 2-run lead. Dennis Martinez now sitting on the bench, and I'm sure Expo trainer Ron McLean or assistant Mike Kozak will soon be up in the locker room with Dennis Martinez applying ice to the affected area. Pascual Perez talking with Dennis.
Spent a lot of time looking at his hand and his right index finger.
Maybe when he made contact, hitting the ball off the end of the bat, bent his finger, or that might be swollen up.
He's being cheered up, regaled by Pascual Perez, who's pitched very well in his recent outings, and Andy McGaffigan comes on to work. Martinez went 5, gave up 2 runs on the 2-run homer to Glenn Davis in the first. 4 hits, all of them in the first. Struck out 5 and walked only 1, that in the first. Had a rough first, but boy, from then on in, he was great and has the lead as he turns it over to Andy McGaffigan.
Now McGaffigan will get as much time as needed to warm up. When the pitcher leaves the ball game due to injury, his replacement gets to throw as many pitches as he feels necessary. And I've seen ball games where the pitcher comes in relief, and by the time he's ready to go, the crowd is booing. They're ready for the game to start.
The Expo bullpen, in relief of the starters like Perez and Martinez, has been simply great lately. Over the last 11 games, the bullpen's 3-0 with 4 saves and a 1.77 earned run average. Burke, Parrott, McGaffigan, McClure, now Hesketh in replace of St. Clair. One of the top bullpens in baseball.
Just saw Kevin Bass in your picture. We were talking about possible trade rumors involving Bass, Jesse Barfield, Dave Winfield. Well, before the Expos came to town, the Philadelphia Phillies were here. And Lou Piniella, general manager of the Yankees, was here for that series, too. And there's been a lot of talk about the Yankees trading Rafael Santana, possibly to the Philadelphia Phillies. The Phillies in search of a shortstop.
Yankees didn't need extra help tonight. Beating Texas 2-1. There's Toronto and California tied 5-5. Toronto had to get 3 runs in the bottom of the 6th to come back and get into that one. Pete Incaviglia hit a solo home run for Texas in the loss to the Yankees. And there's a note that Rick Rhoden has been placed on the 15-day disabled list by the Yankees. Andy McGaffigan continues to warm up here. We'll move on to Cincinnati for a Monday game. We'll bring you Tuesdays as well. The Expos and the Reds on Monday night at 7:30 Eastern Time. Pascual Perez will be pitching against Jeff Robinson. And it's always fun to watch Pascual.
Also right here on TSN, the Blue Jays against the California Angels. That'll be Sunday, May the 8th. That's also at 7:30 p.m. Eastern.
You're talking about fans booing pitchers taking their time warming up. They're doing it to Andy McGaffigan right now as Buck Rogers watches his reliever get ready.
We have a correction on that time of the Jays and Angels game. That will be at 4 p.m. Eastern, Sunday afternoon game.
They just changed that.
Just after I said it.
Yeah. Everybody's joining in to howl at Andy McGaffigan as he continues to warm up in relief of Dennis Martinez. He wants one more. It's 4-2 Montreal. Bottom of the 6th inning. First meeting between these two teams this year. The Astros won the season series last year, 7 wins to 5. And have a lifetime record of 132-91 against Montreal. The Astros dominate the Mets and the Padres more thoroughly than they do the Expos. The Expos have real trouble against this team. Switch hitting Kevin Bass. The first batter to face Andy McGaffigan. Still loosening up and stretching out with his unexpected early appearance. Foul ball off the fist for the first pitch. 0-1. Fact about Dennis Martinez going 5 innings and having all of his trouble in the first. You know, Dennis only threw 57 pitches. When you consider he threw over 20 in the first inning, he really cruised after that. Count is 0-2 to Kevin Bass from Andy McGaffigan. Outside 1-2.
Saw Jeff Reed shift his body to the outside corner and give Andy an even better target to shoot at. That was a waste pitch. When he just wanted to see it. Ooh, look out. Wanted to come back inside with the next pitch, and this one just misses. Kevin Bass, in fact, might have hit him.
Thought it hit him in the heel. 2-2. Foul. Told from the Expos dugout that indeed Dennis Martinez has hurt his right index finger. They're saying he has a bruised right index finger. A changeup from Andy McGaffigan. Bass went fishing and got hooked.
He baits him up with a fastball, then comes back with the curve or with the changeup. Bass way out in front.
And he's in the tank.
That's right. First strikeout for Andy McGaffigan. Fell for it, hook, line, and sinker.
Glenn Davis is responsible for the 2 runs that the Astros have. A 2-out, 2-run shot in the first. Good cleanup hitter. Doesn't hit for great average. 250, 260, but drives in 90 to 100 runs. Hits 25 to 30 home runs. They want a little more power to go in this lineup. Davis is really their only power. And that's why they would think about making a deal that might bring Jesse Barfield. Here's some power from the right side.
That's what the Cardinals did recently, getting Tom Brunansky with Tommy Herr.
He hit 2 home runs last night.
Well, Davis was in particularly a thorn in the side of the Expos going back 2 seasons ago in 1986. 6 home runs and 18 runs batted in against Montreal. Well, the Expos changed their style last year. No home runs and just 2 RBIs against the Expos in 1987.
Hard cut. And an off-speed pitch from Andy McGaffigan. 2-2 with 1 away. Bottom of the 6th, McGaffigan on for Martinez. The Expos leading 4-2 after a 3-run 4th. There's Dennis in behind and in the dugout. 2-2 pitch. Off the end of the bat for a base hit for Glenn Davis. 1 aboard with 1 away. The Labatt player of the game for the Expos tonight will receive a Weed Eater. String trimmers that edge and blowers that beat raking. Garden and yard care the convenient way from Weed Eater. Switch hitting catcher Alan Ashby had a great season last year and is now at the plate with a man on first base.
You know, Jim, what makes this changeup by Andy McGaffigan so effective, he's tall and lanky. He has an unorthodox delivery to the plate. All you see is arms and legs moving. All of a sudden, here comes the ball. He looks like a fastball, and actually it's about 10, 20 miles per hour slower. Ball gets away. Davis will move down to second base on the wild pitch thrown by Andy McGaffigan.
If it hits the dirt, it's a wild pitch. If it goes off the catcher, pass ball. Clearly wild pitch from Andy McGaffigan. Davis down at second base.
Well, that takes away the possibility of a ground ball double play. Might extend the inning a bit for the Astros.
McGaffigan calls time. Wants to talk to Johnny Paredes.
This might be about positioning. How I'm going to pitch this guy. But a veteran hitter like Ashby If he can take a peek at the fielders before the ball is delivered, sometimes it's an indication of what the pitch is going to be. If he sees him move to his left, it might be an off-speed pitch. If he sees him move to his right, might be a fastball. He moved to his left, it was a changeup. Figuring that he'll pull the changeup.
Two balls and a strike to Alan Ashby.
Ashby did not look. I would have looked.
Paredes stayed put.
The fastball.
Davis takes his lead at second. The 3-1 pitch to Ashby. Full count.
Here's a look at Johnny Paredes at second base. Let's see which direction he might lean on this pitch. He might call the pitch for us. Oh, pretty much he's moving to his left. Might be a changeup.
Ashby hits it the other way. Into left field. Raines picks it up. Davis is around third and scores. The Astros are within one on a run-scoring single from Alan Ashby.
Well, that was no changeup. It was a fastball. 3-2 pitch, fastball over the inside corner. Sails towards the middle of the plate. Ashby gets jammed, but is able to drift it into left field for a base hit.
That sparked some action in the Expo bullpen. Buck Rogers comes out to speak with Andy McGaffigan. And Jeff Parrott is warming up in the bullpen. One away. Tying run is on first base. Greg Reynolds is singled and lined out.
We're also getting down to the lower part of the order for the Astros with one out here in the bottom of the sixth. So they have their bullpen going just in case that manager Hal Lanier has to go to a pinch hitter or two. That's Ernie Camacho, number 13, the right-hander. And Juan Augusto, the left-hander.
There's Danny Darwin, towel in hand, watching on the bench. Popped straight up by Reynolds. Reed is out. Wallach is in. A miscommunication there, but Wallach comes up with it. He and Reed stood side by side and were in danger of colliding and missing that altogether.
This is an easier play for the third baseman. He's coming in. Catcher's going out. Wallach a bit taller, makes the play.
Should the pitcher be directing traffic?
He should be, but sometimes you get a big crowd like tonight and everybody's screaming. It's very difficult to hear, in particular inside of a dome stadium where the noise kind of reverberates off the roof. A little harder to hear.
Two away, runner on first. Rafael Ramirez is the batter. There's the throw over. Galarraga touches Ashby, who's back. Bottom of the sixth inning. 4-3. Expos leading the Astros. Runs have come in bunches. The Astros would like to put a bunch together here and get a lead back. But at the bottom of their order and with 2 outs, that prospect isn't looking as bright as it did a few moments ago. Pitch to Ramirez on the ground for Paredes. And he routinely throws out the Houston shortstop, but the Astros get one on a pair of hits off Andy McGaffigan, a run-scoring single for Alan Ashby, and it's a one-run ball game again. After 6, it's the Expos 4, Astros 3. This is Labatt Expos Baseball on TSN. Expos lead the Astros 4-3 as Danny Darwin prepares to work in the top of the 7th, and elsewhere the scoreboard watchers early in this season are, well, some delighting in the fact and others not, that the Baltimore Orioles in Chicago have now built up a, wait for it, 6-0 lead in the 7th inning. Eddie Murray has a 2-run homer.
You know that they do have champagne on ice for this if they win. They had the champagne in Minnesota, couldn't get a win across, and now that they've moved on to Chicago, the corks might be popping for the Baltimore Orioles.
As Yogi would say, it's not over until it's over.
You got that right.
And that's, those words are very appropriate when it comes to the Orioles this year. And they've had some problems tonight, too, with Billy Ripken getting hit in the face by a pitch and had to be carried off the field in a stretcher. Here, Danny Darwin faces the Expos, top of the 7th inning. Montreal has a 4-3 lead. Darwin has given up 7 hits, 4 of them in a 3-run Expo 4th inning. Middle and late part of the order gave him all sorts of trouble. Ball and 2 strikes to Raines.
Tim Raines just not swinging the bat well tonight. Walked, stole a base, lazy fly ball to center, then got jammed on a pop to shortstop. And you go through these periods during the season where you just seem that wherever you're looking for the ball, it's always somewhere else. He hits this ball well to left field, but when you hit one well, there's somebody standing in front of it. Billy Hatcher makes the catch.
Been a great testament to the Expo pitching staff in that the team is 7-3 in its last 10 games while it struggled at the plate. One away then for Mitch Webster, who's 0 for 3 tonight. Outside ball 1. Inside ball 2. Foul. 2 balls and a strike to Mitch Webster. You're gonna hit him at me, I'm gonna keep it.
You know, if he had a C in his name, he'd been appropriate on a day like today. Ground ball foul.
Like today, you got that right.
That is Suba. Not sure of his first name. He's not listed on the roster. A bullpen catcher. Self-contained underwater breathing apparatus.
2-2 with 1 away, top of the 7th. The Webster had a mind to go but didn't, and it's ball 3.
It's still raining outside. We might need some of that to get back to the hotel.
Some Suba gear. Ball 4. Danny Darwin loses Mitch Webster, who finds a way to get aboard for the first time tonight. Hallinier has pitchers ready. He'd like to go to Dave Smith, but he'd like to have a 1-run lead into the 9th to go to him. It's the 3rd walk given up by Danny Darwin tonight.
You'll be checking Jackie Moore closely at third base. Speedy Mitch Webster on at first. The Expos in search of a couple of insurance runs. Mitch not going. Hubie pops it up towards the railing over at first.
No play.
You look at the Astros dugout, or the Expos dugout for that matter. They have, the dugout used to be down underneath the playing field. Now it's even, on an even level with the field. So not only have they put in a new surface, they have elevated the dugouts to field level.
Expos 4, Astros 3. Top of the 7th. One away. Runner on first base is Mitch Webster. Ball and 2 strikes. Webster's got his lead almost off the dirt and out onto the carpet. Runner's going. Hubie's a great contact hitter, but he missed. There's the throw, not in time. And it's a stolen base for Mitch Webster and a strikeout for Danny Darwin as Brooks is gone. Good jump for Webster, so they couldn't strike him out, throw him out.
Strikeout number 3 for Darwin. Stolen base number 3 for Webster on the season. The throw is late.
That's the 12th strikeout for Hubie Brooks, who's a very good contact hitter, but has struck out quite a few times early in this season and failed to make contact there. More often than not, he'll get a piece of those pitches at least.
It's very hard to hit a ball that's down and away, moving away and in the dirt.
So a runner in scoring position, some insurance down at second base with 2 out for Tim Wallach. Got an 0 for 3 night going here. Grounded back to the pitcher, popped up to the shortstop, struck out, hits one hard, but to center field, and the center fielder Gerald Young hauls it in. So it's still an 0 for night for Tim Wallach, and that's probably it for Dan Darwin tonight. But he gets the Expos and is behind as he hits for the dugout. 4 to 3. Time for the 7th inning stretch. This is Labatt Expos Baseball on TSN.
There's no hockey game tonight. I don't have to rush home, so I'm the guest on the extra inning show. So get your questions ready. You got the questions, I got the answers.
Extra innings immediately following this ball game from the Astrodome. You've probably always wanted to phone the Astrodome Collect. Your chance to do it and call Tim Burke tonight. 416-445-1811 is the number to call Collect. Extra innings with Tim Burke immediately following the game. Find out what happened to the Montreal Canadiens. It's a great crowd in this building that seats 45,000 tonight. They'll be close to full on a wet Friday night in Houston, Texas. The first of 3. Tomorrow it's Jim DeShays against Bryn Smith of the Expos. Smith 0-1. Mike Scott 4-0 goes Sunday for Houston against Neil Heaton, who gets his second start after 15 days on the disabled list with a sprained ankle.
A lot of people coming in out of the rain at the Astrodome.
Normally in Houston, Texas, you need the dome to get you out of the good weather.
The heat, humidity.
The air conditioning capital of the world here in Houston. The Expos have been absolutely great in the late innings of ball games. From the 7th inning on, they've outscored their opponents this season 30-13. Gaffigan high and tight to Jim Pankovitz. The Expos have allowed just 3 runs after the 6th inning in their last 13 games. They've held the opposition scoreless in the late innings of 10 of their last 13. 2 balls, no strikes. John McSherry says Pankovich didn't come around. Pop up in foul territory into the stands. Collectively, Expo pitchers after the 6th inning this season have an earned run average of 1.92. The bullpen's been great lately. The starters have been getting further than the 6th and helping out there as well. Mitch Webster's on the cleanup crew for the moment. Off the rim. 2.
Shoot 50% in the NBA, you can play. Houston Rockets could have used him last night. They were drubbed by the Dallas Mavericks in the first game of their best-of-5 series. Shown here in Houston on local television.
Bunted foul by Pankovich. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Pitcher's spot, Darwin due up next. But a pinch hitter is warming up. Terry Poole is in the on-deck circle. From McGaffigan, full count. 3-2 to Jim Pankovich. Bottom of the 7th inning. Expos up 4-3. Another foul ball as Pankovich hangs in there.
Get in a situation like this from a pitching standpoint. You're up by a run, 3-2 pitch to the leadoff hitter. Usually you throw it as hard as you can down the middle of the plate.
Andy McGaffigan struck him out. Strikeout number 2 for McGaffigan, 1 away. Just went right at him.
Big pitch right there. You don't want to put the leadoff hitter on. You're going to have a pinch hitter. It'll be Terry Poole. Long-time Astros, been with the club since the latter part of 1977.
Been a lot of talk of trade as you see some action. Tim Burke is getting up, heading for the bullpen.
Slider is in for strike 1.
Starting to get to Tim's territory here. 1-run lead, getting late in the ball game. McGaffigan still working against Poole now.
Terry Poole, a lifetime .280 hitter in the major league. Spent his entire career with the Houston Astros.
Been a lot of talk about him being traded, but he is a 10-5 man, as the Astros have a half a dozen of those. 10 years in the big leagues, 5 years with the same team, and he can veto any deal. Probably want to stay right around here where he's a stockbroker now. He's 0 for 5 as a pinch hitter this year. Fouls 1 away. 1-2 count remains. 1 away.
Trying to get his pinch hitting stock on the rise, I guess. He finds himself in a hole. 1 ball and 2 strikes with 1 out. Overall batting average at an even .200.
Nope, didn't go around.
Lee Wire, veteran National League umpire, over at third base with the safe call. Wire second only to Doug Harvey. Years in service in the National League.
So you're going to say it. Years as a defenseman with the Canadians. Different Doug Harvey, though. Count is full as McGaffigan went to a full count before he could put Pankovich down. And now the count has gone full in the second batter in the 7th inning for the Astros. Terry Poole. He walked him. First walk surrendered by McGaffigan. One aboard. Tying run is aboard. And the Astros are getting back to the top of the order.
Well, with one out, Terry Poole has pretty good speed at first, and Gerald Young, excellent speed at the plate. Tough man to double up, especially from the left-hand side.
Gerald Young is grounded out, struck out, lined out. 0 for tonight. Slow throw over from McGaffigan. Poole can steal a few bases in his past. He's stolen as many as 30. Slowed up a little bit. It doesn't get as many opportunities to steal naturally now. Dennis Menke flashes the signs.
Gerald Young, born in Tila, Honduras. Now lives in Santa Ana, California.
Moved uptown.
Made the wrong turn on the Pomona Freeway.
Poole's on the way. Ground ball by McGaffigan. Wallach's into it. No play anywhere. Safe all around, and the Astros have the tying run at second base with one away.
Pitch to the plate. He beats it into the turf. And McGaffigan slips. That's all that the speedy Young needed. Nice fake by Wallach trying to get the play at second base. Well, the Astros now have men on first and second as Young picks up an infield hit. And Buck is making that move.
McGaffigan went to a full count with Pankovich, then with Poole. He walked Poole. Gives up the infield single to Gerald Young, and there's 2 aboard, and that's all for Andy McGaffigan. This pitching change is brought to you by Remington.
The new Remington Microscreen Ultimate with the exclusive beard lifter stretches the skin and lifts.
Tim Burke making his 8th appearance of the season. You see his 1-0 record, 2.89 ERA. 3 saves, leads the Expos staff in that category. He's pitched 9 in the 3rd innings this year. Given up 9 hits, struck out 6, walked only 1. And the opponents are hitting .273 against Burke for the season.
Andy McGaffigan back in the dugout. Worked an inning in the 3rd. The 2 runners standing on the bases now are his. He gave up 3 hits, had a 2-run lead when he came into the game. Burt comes on with 1 out, 2 aboard, and a 1-run lead. That's what relievers go to bed and dream about at night.
We mentioned it time and again that the main strength of a Tim Burke is the fact that you come out of the bullpen, he can throw strikes. Doesn't get your team into further trouble.
Billy Hatcher is the first man to face Tim Burke. Bottom of the 7th. 2 aboard. A 1-run lead for Montreal. All 1 from Burke. Fly ball, center field for Mitch Webster. Waves reins off, makes the catch, chases the runners back, 2 away.
Now with the runners at second base, there's Gerald Young at first, Poole at second. It's interesting to watch catcher Jeff Reed work. With Kevin Bass, the hitter, watch how late he sets up and shows the target. He doesn't want Poole relaying where the pitch might be to the hitter. With nobody on base, he'll set up very early, give the pitcher a good solid target. But with a runner on second, he won't put the glove up until the last minute. There it is. Pitch is almost on its way.
Terry Poole is the runner at second base. Gerald Young's at first.
A runner at second base can relay to the hitter by leaning one way or the other while he's taking his lead as to where the pitch might be, either inside or out.
Bass hits it hard into right field. Poole is on the go. He's rounding third. The ball was dropped by Hubie Brooks, so he can just throw it in, and it's a tie ball game. Bass drives home Poole.
So the base on balls to Terry Poole here in the bottom half of the 7th. Comes back to haunt the Expos. The only time an outfielder should bobble a ball is when he's charging hard on a ground ball trying to make a throw. It would have been tough to throw Terry Poole out anyway. And we have a brand new ball game at 4-4.
Young is on third. Bass ties it up with the single, and he's on first. And Tim Burke now must face Glenn Davis. And all Davis has done is gone 6 for 8 lifetime against Tim Burke. Two of those 6 hits have been home runs. Davis has a home run tonight. 4-4 tie. Dennis Martinez can no longer figure in the decision. First to third, 2 out, 4-4. There's the fake, and they've got Gerald Young. A trick play that they've used before and use again. Burke steps off, fakes to first, goes to third, and they pick off Gerald Young. Beauty. Young is a little steamed at being caught off of third base.
Here's another look. The key to this, the pitcher has to step off the rubber before he can fake to first base. If he does that without taking his back foot off the rubber, his right foot, it's a balk.
Well, it gets the Expos out of a bit of a jam, but not before some damage was done. A pair of hits to score a run, and the Astros have come from behind to tie the Expos 4-4 after 7. This is Labatt Expos Baseball on TSN. Been a seesaw battle at the Astrodome in Houston tonight. The Montreal Expos and the Houston Astros now all tied up 4-4. We go to the top of the 8th inning. Andres Galarraga, Jeff Reed, Tom Foley on. Hal Lanier pinch hit for Danny Darwin. He's made the pitching change.
Left-hander Juan Augusto, former Chicago White Sox and Minnesota Twin, is now on to do the pitching. We move to the top half of the 8th inning here in Houston. Andres Galarraga, 2 for 3 on the night, single and a double, driven in a run, also reached on an error. This time the ground to the short. Rafael Ramirez to Glenn Davis, and there's one down.
So Danny Darwin got through 7, gave up 4 runs, 3 of them earned, 7 hits to the Montreal Expos, struck out 3 and walked 3.
Good look at Augusto, who was signed as a free agent in April of last season by the Astros.
This is Luis Rivera, pinch hitting for Jeff Reed, the left-hander out there. Reed comes out. Mike Fitzgerald will come in to catch, and in fact, Fitzgerald swinging a bat and will pinch hit for Tom Foley, who plays almost exclusively against right-handed pitchers. So Buck Rogers goes to the bench in a 4-4 tie, trying to get the lead back. Rivera's had some trouble at the plate since moving to the major leagues, and he may have twisted an ankle as he spun around after that pitch.
Here's the pitch. Let's see if the ball hits him on the ankle.
Ooh, yes it did.
Right off the foot. Now, if Fitzgerald bats for Foley, Rivera's probably apt to stay in the game at shortstop.
Yeah. Fitzgerald comes in to catch.
And it looks as though Louis is going to be all right. Buck Rogers and assistant trainer Mike Kozak return to the safety of the dugout.
Rivera's average overall is .213, but he's hitting just .172 in his last 10 games, 5 for 29. Oh, 2 pitch from Juan Augusto way outside. Now, Rivera has such great range and plays so well at short that I think the Expos can afford to have his bat in the lineup, even if he can't get his average way up, as long as Johnny Paredes starts to hit, or they get some hitting from elsewhere in the bottom of the order. Here's a ground ball to the shortstop, Ramirez. 2 away. But what Buck Rogers and the Expos can't afford is to have everybody at the bottom of the order hitting under or around 200. Mike Fitzgerald's been hot at the plate lately. Hasn't played an awful lot. He's only had 14 at-bats in his last 10 games, but he's hit 6 times. So he's hitting at a .428 pace over that period.
Nine for 26 on the season for Fitzy. Fastball outside from Augusto. Augusto was with the Chicago White Sox back in 1983 when they won the American League Western Division crown.
That was the check swing fly ball to right field into the glove of Bass. Fitzgerald is gone, and Juan Augusto gets a couple of ground balls and a fly ball and gets the Expos in order in the top of the 8th. It's a 4-4 tie with the Astros coming up in the bottom of 8th. This is Labatt Expos Baseball on TSN. On the the Diamond Vision scoreboard in center field, they're showing the Orioles leading Chicago 9-0. Ninth inning.
Dave Schmidt on the mound for the Orioles. Not sure who the hitter is. Well, the Orioles just too shy of the all-time record set by the 1961 Philadelphia Phillies of 23 consecutive losses. Orioles already have the record at the start of the season with 21. The White Sox have a man on, but they're trailing by 9 runs here in the bottom half of the 9th inning.
Even the Orioles should be able to hold this one. Hey, come on. Somebody pull the plug. What's going on here?
Well, the Orioles do have the American League record for consecutive losses at 21. For the Philadelphia Phillies of 1961, it looks like their record is safe for now.
Ooh, that'll be a relief.
Managed by former Expo manager Gene Mock.
Glenn Davis was at the plate when Gerald Young was picked off third in the trick play in the 7th. So he's back up there now to face Tim Burt, a pitcher he's owned. Two for 3 tonight with a 2-run home run. Waited on that one, hit it on the ground to Tim Wallach. Davis has erased one away.
Tim Wallach's been a busy man over at third base tonight. The 4th ground ball for Wallach. He's caught a couple of line drives.
Ashby delivered a run-scoring single in his last at-bat in the 6th. Takes outside, ball 1. Astros got 2 runs in the 1st, a run in the 6th and 1 in the 7th, and have left 5 runners tonight.
Ashby, former Toronto Blue Jay, former Cleveland Indian.
Fly ball to left field. This is way back. It's deep, not deep enough. On the track for Tim Raines, 2 away. Got the fans out of their seats.
Speed of Tim Raines, able to catch up with that long fly ball. Deepest left center field. Good to hear the groan of the home crowd. Raines, you saw him run to a spot. Drifts underneath it, makes the catch.
2 away for Craig Reynolds. First start of the season tonight at third base. Single, blind out, popped up. First time he's faced Tim Burke, the 3rd Expo pitcher. Dennis Martinez went 5, and then at the plate bruised his right index finger. Left the game. Andy McGaffigan went an inning and a 3rd. Gave up 2 runs on 3 hits. Struck out 2 and walked 1. And that's really the one that hurt.
Reynolds was in a platoon situation with Dickie Thon at shortstop. Now Ramirez is more or less taken over the job full time.
Pulled foul into the seats high in the air by Reynolds. Count is 1-2. The Expos playing a string of games against West Division teams. The Astros are playing against the East for a while. This is their third of 33 straight against the East. Last year they were 34-38. 4 below 500 against the Eastern Division teams. Only San Francisco out of the West had a winning record against the East. 1-2 pitch. On the ground for Luis Rivera. He dropped the ball. With 2 away, Rivera, who came into the game as a pinch hitter, stayed in the game, just plain drops the ball.
Off the end of the glove, the Expos' first error of the evening. That will prolong the inning for Rafael Ramirez. Reynolds does have speed to steal bases. Not much opportunity this year, but he has stolen one successfully without being caught.
Takes his lead at first. 1-0 pitch inside. 2 balls, no strikes. Jim Burke to Rafael Ramirez. Jumped on that one, and this one is gone. Home run for Ramirez. They should have been in the dugout, and instead they're down by 2. The Astros lead 6-4.
Tim Burke gets the pitch on the inner half of the plate. Ramirez jumps all over it. His first home run as a member of the Houston Astros. Gives the Astros a 2-run lead here in the bottom half of the 8th inning.
Ramirez doesn't hit a lot of them. 1 last year. Most was 10 in Atlanta in a season, and in the toughest ballpark to hit them out in the major leagues. He hits one out to make it 6-4. Fly ball caught one-handed by Hubie Brooks. And the Expos, on the error by Rivera, gave the Astros an extra out. They took advantage of it. Ramirez goes long. And it's Houston 6, Montreal 4 after 8. This is Labatt Expos Baseball on TSN. Now let's go to TSN Control for another sports update. When the Astros need relief, they most often go to Dave Smith. He's their stopper. Saved 24 of 28 opportunities last season, and is in tonight with a 2-run lead, top of the 9th, and Hal Lanier is glad to be able to put him out there.
Very difficult man to take deep also. He went over 60 innings last year, did not allow a home run. The type of man you like to bring on in the 7th, 8th, or 9th inning. The Astros have also made a change in the infield. Chuck Jackson replaces Craig Reynolds over at 3rd. And Johnny Paredes be leading off here in the top half of the 9th inning with the Expos facing a 2-run deficit.
Gave the Expos a 4-2 lead with his first major league hit in the 6th, driving in a run, scoring Andres Galarraga. In a seesaw battle, 2-0 for the Astros on the first inning home run by Glenn Davis. The Expos then came back and got 3 runs in the 4th inning on 4 hits. Made it 4-2 in the 6th when Paridi singled home Galarraga. And the Astros have come back. 1 in the 6th to get close, 1 in the 7th to tie it, and 2 in the 8th on the 2-run homer by Rafael Ramirez. And Dave Smith on trying to put this one away. The count is 1-1 to Paridi. Wallace Johnson, a pinch hitter, is on deck.
Dave Smith, very adept at getting in a ground ball. Good sinking fastball. This one is popped up to the infield. Ramirez moving towards the outfield, calling off left fielder Billy Hatcher. He makes the catch.
So Dave Smith will now face the pitcher's spot, and Burke won't come out. Instead, Wallace Johnson, the switch hitting pinch hitter, is out in the pitcher's spot.
Wallace 1 for 3 so far this year as a pinch hitter. Every at bat he's had has been in the pinch hitting role.
Dave Smith, over the last 3 years, has registered saves in 84 of the 98 opportunities presented him. Now, guys like Reardon, Righetti, and Lee Smith may have more saves over that period, but none of them have as good a save percentage as Smith. Ground ball for Davis. Smith running over to cover and does so. 2 gone. Expos are down to their last out.
Well, it's up to Tim Raines to try and keep it going. Try to preserve an at-bat for Mitch Webster. In front of this fine crowd that we have here at the Astrodome on a Friday evening.
34,331 at the Astrodome for a rainy Friday night. Been a pretty good ball game, particularly for the Astros. Darwin, Augusto, and Smith trying to team up to put this one away. The Expos have scored 4 runs. That's not great, but better than they've scored lately. But an error and then surrendering a home run right after it cost them here. And they're behind 6-4, 2 out, top of the 9th. And Tim Raines is behind 0-2 to Dave Smith. Those that remain are on their feet. Fouled away, and Raines will hang in there. Hasn't been much help for Dave Smith in the bullpen. The 33 save total that they had last season was just one better than the Dodgers and the Braves, right down at the bottom of the league. But when he's out there, things are in good hands.
The Astros' top gun in the bullpen. But the Astros started back in 1962 as the Colt 45.
What a great name. Moved in here in 1965 and became the Astros. Dennis Martinez left with the lead after pitching brilliantly. Dave Smith has a chance for the save. Check swing by Raines, didn't go around. 2-2.
Pitch was just outside. comes from knowing the strike zone. I always felt if a pitch was actually too hard to reach and make contact, it was a ball.
Line drive, base hit. The Expos won't go down without a fight. And Raines is aboard, and with 2 out in the top of the 9th, that brings the tying run to the plate. And it's Mitch Webster.
Dave Smith delivering that last pitch to Tim Raines.
Delivers a lecture to himself.
He looks over and he sees Mitch Webster coming up to hit. There goes Raines, not holding him on. Ground ball, tough play for Pankovic.
Just in time. That was deep, and it looked like Webster runs very well. Might have time to beat it out with the runner going. But Pankovic makes the play to Glenn Davis, and the Astros, who had a lead early, fell behind and have come back to win 6-4 in the opening game of a 3-game set over the Montreal Expos.
Pankovic ranging far to his right. Comes up with a strong throw over the top. Now watch, very close play at first base. Just in time to get Mitch Webster.
Augusto will win it. Tim Burke takes the loss, and Dave Smith, as usual, will get a save. But a big error cost the Expos tonight. After Burke thought he had the side in the bottom of the 8th, Rivera dropped the ball, and the next batter up, Ramirez, hit it out of the park.
Such is the case. You hate to feel for Louis Ramirez at shortstop. Anytime that you make an error, you don't want the other team to score. To have the next hitter to come right up and hit a home run, you know he has to feel pretty bad.
First game of a 3-game set goes to the Astros. 6-4 tonight. This is Labatt Expos Baseball on TSN. TSN Expos Baseball has been brought to you by Petro-Canada, dealers and agents. Our energy is Canada. Expos Baseball is a presentation of the Sports Network. It's protected by copyright. Any use of this broadcast without permission is prohibited. The final score in Houston, Texas tonight, the Astros 6 and the Expos 4. The winning pitcher is Juan Augusto, who pitched 1 inning in relief. Tim Burke, the loser, now 1-1. The Labatt player of the game for the Montreal Expos is Johnny Paredes, who will receive a weed eater from Poland. And from the Houston Astros, Rafael Ramirez, who will receive an Inuit carving from H.H. Brown, makers of walkabouts. The Expos relief pitchers will receive the Skill Super Twist cordless power screwdriver. When the pressure's on, count on Skill. And the new Remington Micro Screen Ultimate. Shaves as close as a blade or your money back. Our next Expos telecast on TSN will be Monday at 7:30 Eastern Time, when the Cincinnati Reds will play host to Montreal. The next Blue Jays telecast will be Sunday, May the 8th at 4 Eastern Time, when the California Angels will play host to the Toronto Blue Jays. Stay tuned next for Extra Innings, our phone-in show with Expo reliever Tim Burke. Call collect at 416-445-1811. Extra Innings is coming up next.